Hey everybody, how are ya? Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast. Recording this intro today, sitting here watching some Shark Week, and recording this intro today on my brand new Heil microphone. Check them out at heilsounds.com and get yourself a brand new Heil microphone. Big thanks to them for their support of this show. Also, I want to tell you about my friends at Naked Vine, located out in Chesterfield, Missouri, serving up all the finest wine, whiskey, tequila, and local craft beers. Stop by and visit them this week for some great live music on Thursday. My buddy Chris Rader will be out there of Cluster Pluck, so come by and see him. On Friday, Christine Jackson, and Saturday, Find a Drive. So check out those shows. Full listing of events at nakedvine.net. Be sure to follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I return to Naked Vine on August 13th, Tuesday night, with my singer-songwriter storytelling showcase with my good friends, Brothers Reed and Tim Lloyd of Western States. So that show will be at 8 o'clock start, $10 cover at the door. And so do not miss that. And join us every second Tuesday of the month at Naked Vine. Also want to tell you about Joseph Meyer Club. Check out josephmeyerclub.com today and try out their brand new foaming aftershave. It's a fantastic product. I've been using it myself. I love it. Smells great and, just really nice. So again, check out their foaming aftershave. Use my promo code RPPJMC20 during checkout for an exclusive 20% off. Again, RPPJMC20 during checkout at josephmeyerclub.com. All right, everybody, that's it for me today. Be sure to follow along with Rock Paper Podcast on your Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, wherever you're getting your podcast. Feel free to email me if you'd like at rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the show. If you have any tips, suggestions, if you want to get a shirt, a hat, or anything, I'd love to hear from you. So shoot me an email or a message on Facebook or whatever. All right, everybody, have a great day. Thanks for listening.
Podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
This is Andrew Gibson, local drummer for Mathias and the Pirates, executive director of Freedom Arts and Education Center. You're listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast, y'all.
Hey, everybody. Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today with Andrew Gibson. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Shane. How you doing?
I'm good, man. A little warm today, but
Yep.
I'm here. We have a nice, cool space here in the air conditioning now, though. But this is, it's summertime in St. Louis, man. We've got baseball on the TV.
That's right.
We're all sweating out here, 100 degrees. But
it's Sunday. Happy Sunday.
Oh, yeah, man. It's definitely a good day to just kind of hang out and, of course, do a podcast, man.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. This is something we... it's kind of been a long time in the making, sort of. We've been friendly for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we first met through Mathias and the Pirates.
Of course.
We've kind of run in the same circles for a while. You even played one of the birthday shows and stuff last year,
Mm-hmm.
But you got a bunch of other stuff here in the works, even along with some new Mathias and the Pirates stuff. But I thought this would be fun to get to chat and talk about everything you're up to and get to know a little bit more about you, because really that's the fun of this show is actually get to a quiet space we can hang out and talk instead of trying to yell over a show or something like that.
Right.
So.
All those loud drummers.
All right.
Taking up all the space.
Yeah, man. But I guess take me back a bit. Let's talk about getting started here and things. Kind of, I guess, always grew up around St. Louis, or you?
Yeah. So I was born in North County, and then I grew up in West County. Went to Parkway schools and everything. And the way I got into music is interesting. I think it's interesting. In elementary school, I played a little bit of stringed instruments, recorder like everybody else. choir, stuff like that. But you're talking about baseball being on the TV right now. It would have been, if it wasn't music for me, it would have been baseball in some respect. I'm not blessed with the pro athletes build and physique, so maybe announcing or writing or something like that. Baseball is really what I was into. But then going into 6th grade, my middle school, they required you to take a music class. You had to take a music class. So it was either going to be choir, which I was tired of singing, or it was going to be orchestra, which I played cello for a year and I hated it. I got so mad at that instrument, I actually threw it down my basement stairs one day and broke it. And my parents said, well, that's it for you with music, and you're not doing that anymore. So the other option was band, with all the brass instruments, woodwind, and percussion. And so I'm like, fine, sign me up for band, whatever. Doesn't matter, I'm going to be a pro baseball player. So you had to pick an instrument. So I signed up for trumpet because my dad used to play trumpet, and so we had one in the house. So I was just trying to take the path of least resistance. You had to put down a secondary instrument. So I was like, what's like the trumpet? Trombone, put me down for that. You had to put down a third instrument. I left that blank. And then when I went to orientation at my middle school, my band teacher, Mr. Drew Davis at Parkway Southwest Middle, I think he's still over there, he gave me this little like rhythm test. And, like, here, clap on this beat, stomp on this beat, tap this pattern. And so I did it all. And he said, I think you're better suited for percussion, and our percussion section is looking really thin. Would you mind doing that instead of trumpet? I'm like, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm going to play baseball.
All right.
And so, but that was it. Like, I took to it, and I guess more importantly, it took to me, and it just all worked out. And I really liked being in that section. It was just me and 2 other kids. And so we were covering a bunch of different instruments. So on one piece, I'd play the snare drum part, the timpani part, the triangle, and the crash cymbal. So I'm running back and forth. And I like the physicality of it. I think that kind of matched up with my personality. The fact that it's big instruments that we had to lug up and down and set up and take care of. Like, I really liked that. And like I said, it liked me too. It worked out. So I stuck with it. It's history after that, I guess. Yeah.
I was around that time, especially middle school, I was playing a ton of basketball. So I was with you. I was convinced I was going to be a pro basketball player. And I was like, yep, the NBA is going to be calling. And,
that's right.
It's funny how future changes some of those plans.
Right.
But,
we haven't hit our growth spurts yet. And we think, I'm an athlete. And then you're like, nope, I'm not.
I was like, I'm sure you were the same with baseball, but like I collected all the cards. Yep. I had, I hooped in the driveway like every day all summer. And it's like, and we had like, did some stuff with like, of course we had the Y team and then, joined the school team and stuff in 8th grade or whatever, but it's like, played all the time, and like I loved it and like would watch it all the time, especially that was around the era of the Bulls dynasty and stuff. So when I used to watch a ton of Jordan and Pippen and all those. So
right, and you want to fly like them.
Yeah, man.
You're like, I want to do that, and so music wasn't as exciting to me at the time,
right?
But then the music I got into was really interesting, and I really have to credit my mom for this, who's not a musician. But she knows music from like the deepest of fan places that you can think of. Like, she knows the history of records and bands and who played with who and what was at the top of the charts and what wasn't. And what's funny is it's like all popular music too. She knows R&B, she knows country, she knows folk music, she knows rock. She knows all of it. Yeah. And so I'm still I'm still 11, 12 years old and just getting into it. But as I'm playing music, I'm obviously you start hearing it differently, right? And I mean, music is everywhere in our culture. It's on commercials, it's in the malls and the stores and everything. Like, music, I don't think we realize how constant music actually is. And I think for that reason, we really, really take it for granted. But I started listening to it differently. And so I can remember the first time I like noticeably heard Stevie Wonder, and I noticeably heard Chuck Berry, and I noticeably heard James Brown. And I started asking her about it. So then I came home from school one day, and she had the TV was on, and Mr. Holland's Opus was playing. Have you seen this movie?
You know, I don't know.
Never seen this movie.
I don't know if I've actually ever watched. Like, definitely know about it and
Yeah.
everything, but like, I don't think I've actually sat down and watched
Sure.
it. Like,
I mean, it's cheesy, but if you've ever done orchestral music,
Sure.
and if for every music educator, it's like the gospel film for music educators. There's a lot of like the anachronisms in it, a lot of the things that are incorrect. Like people freak out that he holds his baton in his left hand when you're all supposed to hold it in your right. So there's little stuff like that,
Yeah.
but it's heartwarming. It's a good movie.
I had a. I mean, it was fine for me, but
Yeah.
I was kind of stuck in a lane for a long time. Like, I'm not. I watched a ton of comedy, and like, because it's what I loved, and like, I didn't. So there was a ton of movies that I just missed because.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Because I was just busy watching Tommy Boy on repeat and
On
stuff.
repeat, yeah.
It's like, things like that. So
Yeah.
but I've been trying to go back and catch up on even stuff.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of huge ones that people are like, you haven't seen that? I'm like,
Right.
I was like, nah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll add it to the list.
All right.
And so one of the earlier scenes in the movie, or maybe it's later, I don't remember, but it's the Stevie Wonder song "Uptight," "Everything Is All Right," which he recorded when he was like 16 or something like that. And I remember coming in and that the movie's on and the song's playing. I just asked my mom, like, what I like that song. Who is that? And she's like, oh, that's Stevie Wonder. And just casually, I was like, I like that. That's really cool. And then maybe a couple days later, I come home from school, and on my dresser is a stack of Stevie Wonder CDs that she just went to the library and got. So I'd say, that sounds cool. And she would just overwhelm me with the entire catalog. She did this with Chuck Berry after I saw Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So a lot of my connections to songs actually came through movies, I think. And she did it with James Brown at one point, Otis Redding, The Temptations. I mean, there were so many artists that I got into because I casually said something.
Right.
My mom remembered, went to the library, got me a stack of CDs by that artist.
Thanks, Mom.
No, seriously, like I still thank her for it. I thank her, and she's like, oh, I didn't know I did that.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, you paid attention, you listened, and you kind of fed this beast, this good beast. I don't know if you were trying to, steer me in a certain direction or not, but
It worked.
But you did. So, So yeah, that got me into Stevie Wonder, and I mean, I read liner notes in these CDs just religiously, and so this was the time when, a lot like there was one hit wonders. Like I remember the Thong song was huge. Everyone at my school loved the Thong song.
Yeah.
Britney Spears was just kind of ascending. Eminem, like his stuff was starting to come out, and every parent was trying to stop their kid from listening to that.
All right.
A lot of kids in my school were into Green Day, Limp Bizkit, and which was fine. I didn't even necessarily like dislike that stuff so much, but I was running around with my like portable CD player, my headphones, and I'm listening to Ray Charles.
Right.
And that's what I was into. Which I had no friends I could share that with. None of my friends were interested in any of the music I was listening to. So that caused me to gravitate more towards these older musicians, like church musicians that, so I grew up in the church and everything, and my parents are hanging out with the musicians. And so that like, I gravitated towards them.
Yeah.
So actually kind of a funny connection. Charlie Serpa, a sax player here in St. Louis, awesome sax player. He plays a couple times a year with the Liston brothers, with Pat and Danny Liston. I mean, I spent so much time in Pat Liston's house as a kid because my parents were friends with him through church musicians.
All right.
And so I could sit there with Pat Liston and I could talk about music from his era that he's thinking, there's no way an 11-year-old kid should know about this stuff, right? But because of my mom, I was into that, and so I could talk to him about these things. So that was the stuff that like really got me into music. James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Otis Redding, basically anything on Motown, on the Motown label was really like my early baptism into this is what music is, which I'm thankful for because it could have been Britney Spears, right?
Yeah.
Could have been that. So it wasn't.
I kind of with you. Like, I mean, I've told the story, 100 times on here, but like my parents were the same way. Like, not necessarily, bring me home stacks of CDs, but I was definitely into what they were listening to more than what was current. A lot of my friends were. So yeah, I was definitely listening to a ton of Allman Brothers and Skinner and ZZ Top and this kind of stuff. My mom was more in blues, and so you got your Clapton and B.B. King and this kind of stuff, and listen to a ton of music that was already a couple decades old at the time, and but yeah, I had like a binders full of CDs.
That's right, the binders.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Unfortunately, one year, it was my freshman year in 99, and I had like a big binder full of CDs. And also, this is the time when you're doing a lot of mixed CDs and stuff and things.
I lived on mixed CDs.
Yep. And so I had my of course, you mentioned your portable CD player.
Yep.
I had my Walkman and whatever, and I'm like, I used to listen to a ton on the bus, or just at I was very involved in high school with football team and basketball and different stuff, so I spent a lot of time at school after hours too, and so of course I always had. But anyway, somebody swiped my binder full of CDs.
That's not cool.
Yep,
Steal my car and take my music.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Man.
So I was really bummed, and a couple weeks later, for some reason, I'm like walking the street, like on the other side of town, and I happen to see a CD like face down, and I pick it up, and it says Shane's Mix on it.
No.
And I was like, so I just imagined, somebody cruising around, listening, checking out my CDs, and like, nope, this sucks.
This
and
sucks,
just sling it out the window and stuff. So
wish they would have listened first.
Yeah. So
listen before you steal it.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. But I didn't have the stuff that was popular and current and stuff.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's funny. That I remember, one of the kids at my middle school, I remember just, he kind of messed with everybody. He was just kind of a jerk. And I remember coming over to my table during lunchtime and just, I don't know if you ever had people doing this, but some of those just like little obnoxious stuff that kids did to kids, like they'd knock each other's books out of their hands and everything.
Right, yeah.
So at least at my school, it was very popular. So if somebody had their portable CD player sitting on the table and they're listening, you'd open it.
Right.
Right. To like stop them in the middle of their song. Because then if you had the crappier Walkman, like when you close it, it wouldn't go back to where you were. It'd start at the top.
Sure.
So you get interrupted. And fast forwarding CDs is not like scrolling like it is now. And so I remember he popped it open. I remember it was Ray Charles. And he's like, Ray Charles, he's like, my mom listens to this. And so just to dog me even worse, he popped it out and like frisbeed it across our huge lunchroom. And I was like, not cool. Now, you better believe that when Ray Charles passed in 2004, that same kid was like, oh, Ray Charles, such a gift to music. I'm like, nah, man, you threw my Ray Charles CD across a lunchroom. Don't act like you care.
Right.
You disrespected him.
Yeah, man.
So that was, And so I think that kind of stuff is the story I was sharing with you before we started, really like turned me into a very young music snob, right? Like I'm sitting here talking records with, Pat Liston and, I know about all this early music and everything. So I thought I knew it all. Right. And so then when I really started to get serious about music, I go into high school and decided like I really wanted to focus on music. I really wanted to just see what I could do with it, see how far I could go. So I'm in my jazz band class and it's 9th grade. And really I thought if it wasn't Motown, if it wasn't James Brown, and I had gotten into jazz, so if it wasn't jazz and like a very specific era, if it wasn't like the cool jazz era, right, like late 50s, mid 60s, if it wasn't any of that music, it sucked. Like if it was anything else, it was terrible. Like I was like Red Hot Chili Peppers, awful, right? Santana, awful. Jimi Hendrix, that's noise. Like stuff that is amazing.
Right.
I'm like, no, it sucks. And so I remember the assistant teacher in my jazz band class, his name is Ben Niffen, amazing bass player. He like overheard that and he heard me specifically be like, no, hip hop sucks. It's just talking over beats. He just overheard that and he didn't get on me. He was like, oh, hip hop sucks. Really? Okay. He brought me a record the next day, a CD, I should say. It was a Philadelphia Experiment, which I was telling you about earlier. There's a trio record with jazz bass player Christian McBride, who I was really into. And so that was kind of what sucked me into it. A classical pianist named Yuri Kane and a drummer named Questlove. I remember thinking, what a dumb name. And so anyway, it's an instrumental jazz record. It fits into that vein, but it's Questlove playing the drums on it, right? So it's got hip hop beats, right? It's got very kind of almost electronic sounding beats on it. And so I'm listening to this stuff, and as much as I wanted not to like it, because I didn't want him to be right, I wanted to be right. I couldn't help it. Like, I'm bobbing my head, I'm rewinding it. I'm like, this is good stuff. And so I take it back to him. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty good. You're right, but that's not hip hop. And he's like, okay. And so the next one he gave me was Mama's Gun by Erykah Badu, which Questlove is also playing drums on. And then it's got James Poyser on keys. Jay Dilla's got some production on there. And then Erykah singing, who very much has a jazz vibe, but, fits into more of a soul genre. And so, again, I wanted to hate it because I wanted to stay rooted in my ignorance, like we all do, right?
Right.
I couldn't help it. It was amazing. And so he, slowly made me realize that actually, deep down, I loved hip-hop. And he used Questlove as the catalyst for that. So I ended up at the Roots. He gave me the Philadelphia Experiment, or not the Philadelphia Experiment, Do You Want More by the Roots, which is the staple of the jazz hip-hop sort of record, right? They've got a Fender Rhodes on it, upright bass, Questlove's on the drums, and then Black Thought and Malik B are rapping on it, right? And I'm like, it's still one of my favorite records of all time. And I'm like, okay, I can't deny it. I love hip hop now. And then from there, it was Tribe Called Quest, Common, De La Soul. Yeah. And what's funny about that now is, a lot of people tell me that they hear a lot of Questlove in my playing.
Oh, yeah?
The way I play the drums and just kind of the way that even the drums that I play, the tuning, all that stuff does sound like kind of that early Questlove, right? So a guy whose name I was dogging, and I got a Questlove poster in the room right here, right? It's like, Questlove, if you hear this, I was wrong. You're amazing.
So you never got to meet him or anything yet?
No,
Nothing like
never
that?
got to meet him, and that's okay. I hear too many times about people meeting their heroes and they're a little cold to them, and that's all right. I'm sure Questlove's got enough, especially young-ish kind of white men coming up saying you're amazing. He's like, don't mess with me right now. That's totally fine. I've seen the Roots a couple times.
Sure. When he was here not long ago too, did a DJ set.
He DJ'd because the Roots were supposed to come, but they had a tour bus problem or something like that. He was the only one that could make it, which, fun fact, I don't know if it's still true, but at that time it was true that the Roots took 2 separate tour buses. Basically, all the members of the Roots were on one, and Questlove was on the other. So they always took, and he writes about that in some of his books too. I don't think it's so much personal stuff as much as they're partying and he's working.
Okay.
Right? He's designing a shoe or writing a new book or something like that.
Right.
So he's the only one that made it. So yeah, he DJ'd at the Gramophone.
Yeah.
I think we had a Blizzard. I don't remember. I didn't make it to that. But yeah, I've seen the Roots live a few times, and it's a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy too that now those guys are on Tonight Show every night and stuff too. That's even another step in. They were already amazing, and now they get to be a part of everything with Jimmy now and on there, and and they're really funny too. That's what I love when they get Questlove and Black Thought involved in all that, those different skits and things they do and stuff. When what's the one they do
the freestyling one?
Well, they do one of it's
they got freestyling with the Roots.
Yeah,
that I like watching that one. They've got, I can't remember. I haven't watched it in a while.
The Sound of Silence. What's that? Blanking on damn name.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah. I hate when I go to go make a reference and then I blank on it. But they do a black Simon and Garfunkel skit, and which is really funny. And so anyway,
well, it's good too because it normalizes it, right? This is that was. Yeah, it's a band, but it's still hip hop, right?
Sure.
And still, that's rap music,
right?
And so normalizing it in the sense of they are now the house band on the Tonight Show, it's cool, and I think it shows what is an important or should be an important culture shift.
Yeah,
towards this is music too. So same way I'm nope, it's just talking over beats. It's music too.
So when did kind of getting into playing with Mathias and the Pirates and stuff, was that your first hip hop band you played with, or did you get into playing other hip hop before?
Yeah. So I was in. It's actually funny because I knew, I was a fan of the Earthworms.
Sure.
I knew DJ Moff. I knew I knew they were. And actually, at my first like interaction with Mathias, I remember, and we've talked about it a couple of times. So I was in a band when I went to Webster University when I was in college. We formed a band. As much as I don't want to say it, we were basically just trying to be the Roots. It was jazz musicians who liked hip hop, and then we knew some rappers that were really, really good, and so we tried to like do that, do the jazz hip hop thing. And it was cool. It was just short lived. But I remember making a post on Facebook, like inviting people to my band's show. And I'm like, this is real music. There's no DJs. There's no samples. There's no nothing. And Mathias actually sent me a message in the inbox. He's like, hey man, just letting you know, like, nope. Like even when we're playing over beats, it's still hip hop, even if there's no live instruments. So like kind of like godfathering me,
right.
Like taking me aside and being like, yeah, man, that's not right. You can't say that stuff. And like it was, I'm sure we've done it, especially as we're younger. You make a stupid kind of thoughtless post, you're trying to plug something, and in the same vein of plugging something, you're shaming something else. So he kind of, like I said, godfathered me through that. And that was way before I was playing with them. And then that band I was in inevitably broke up. I think everybody had babies or moved or, that broke up. And then Jonesy, Justin Jones, he's a local rapper. He made a Facebook post saying he's trying to get, he was trying to do like a monthly hip hop show, and he was looking for a house band for it. And so my band had just broken up. I went through a brief grieving period, and I got back out there. So I just messaged him back and I said, yeah, man, I can play drums. And so we didn't get a house band necessarily, but I was the house drummer for that. So it was called Second Story Saturdays. And we did those the second Saturday of every month on the second floor of Llewellyn's in the Central West End. And so Jonesy always hosted it. Hearskra-Z was always on it. And then he's just kind of getting like a rotating group of MCs and singers that come out and do their set. And I'd always play drums with them, right? Some of them would like they'd like email me MP3s of their songs maybe a few days before so I could at least listen to them and then play drums, over their beats and everything, kind of add that element to it. Some of them, it would just be like on the spot. Like they would just show me like, you gonna play on my set? And I'm like, I've never heard your stuff, but okay. So at those shows, I played with Jonesy and Hearskra-Z every time. That's how I met pretty much everyone that I know now.
Yeah. That's
how I met Scrub. That's how I started playing with him. I played with Tef Poe at a couple of those shows. Doorway, so Nick Men and Artifact, I played with them. Corey Black, I played with him at that. I don't know if I actually played with Mathias at those shows, but I kind of met him through those. That's how I met Damon Davis. Scripts and Screws came and did a set, and he called me up on the last song. He's like, where's that drummer? Like I was chilling in the back having a drink,
right.
And he's like, where's that drummer? Come up here.
Yeah.
And so I came up and I played on the last song with them. And that's how I started working with him. And that was before Farfetched was formed even. And that's how I got in with them. So I think it was more through that. It was more through like those shows, and then Farfetched coming together is how I met Mathias and started playing with him. So that was about, I don't know the years exactly, but it was about the same time that Earthworms broke up, and he put together Mathias and the Pirates, and Grover Stewart was the first drummer for that project.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I got to know him, and really all those guys was through Second Story Saturday. So seriously, shout out to Jonesy.
Yeah. And
the Second Story Saturday shows, those were cold. Those were some good, very good nights.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, yeah, I mean, not that I don't appreciate it all, but like I'm kind of with you with what you were saying about the live band part of it all. Like I that's what I do love about Mathias and the Pirates, and the fact, I mean, like, yeah, they do 2 MCs and turntables sets, but also I love that when you have the full band, obviously you on the kit, and you got, bringing in horns and everything else. I mean, like, so I love when it's that big production of it all, and full band and hip hop and everything all to come together. So that's one thing that's always stood out to me. I really appreciate that. Like, it's just, it's a lot, I don't know. For me, it's a lot more fun with it's so much more energy with a live band playing up behind all these songs and stuff. So
yeah, thanks, man. I mean, that's we appreciate that. And that's, I mean, something that we always try to stay true to. Because, you know, even, you know, Mathias being, you know, primarily a rapper, like that dude knows his music and he's into music. And so having musicians, instrumentalists up there is something that he feeds off of as well. And same with Candace. And that's something that every rapper has told me is when they turn around and there's not just a DJ up there, but they turn around and they see a drummer and some horns and a bass player and somebody on keys, like that's energy for them as well. So not just for the crowd, but also for the artists who are used to not having many humans to interact with on their set. Like it really does bring that. So yeah, we appreciate that. And that's something we're always trying to stay true to.
It all seemed a little more simple then. Baggy jeans and a beat up pair of sneakers. Congos on the radio, fisherman. Dreadlocks in a room full of tweakers. We didn't know what direction we was going in, or could my Volkswagen get up out the driveway? I only knew that I wasn't no bowling pin. I lived life and I fucking did it my way. 2 fingers up for soul revolution that we started when we was young and full of what? And since I bring it up, my whole evolution was always all about following my gut. And it all seemed a little more easy then. Planetary vessels vibrant and youthful, and music was the medicine we needed, man. Freewheeling and we looking for what's truthful. I take the high road until the high wears off, and then I argue with racists on Facebook. I get nostalgic for time that we didn't know that every other motherfucker's in a hate group. 2 fingers up for the soul protectors. When we started we was young and full of what? And since I bring it up to the whole collective, I've been following you, following your gut.
This is the life that chose me. I fell into it very natural. Everyone has a story. Some took the road less traveled. I've come to know I need some help, but won't succumb to my lower self. Follow your path, some won't believe on your own how alone that must have felt. Remember what a feeling would first find me. Tribe unique and we was chiefin' in the 90s. Get into it, then I had the homies back up. Mama's mad that we scratching all they wax up. Graffiti writers with a marker that I got from school. Had a secret tag name that nobody knew. Lee and Beach Street got me drawing on my hat. Raymond got me trying to paint the bus like that. Battle B-boys, hit them with a freestyle. Smash toys, then go somewhere and cheap out. Gave us motivation for something to think about. My young adult days, building at my DJ's house. Dressed different, look different, with or without a hook, get it. X-Clan, native tongue, public enemy, and BDP didn't put the books in it. Edutainment and never looked timid, brung the whole hood with us. This is the life that chose me. I fell into it very natural. Everyone has a story. Some took the road less traveled. I've come to know I need some help, but won't succumb to my lower self. Follow your path, some won't believe on your own how alone that must have felt.
Fist in the air, no, I'm never giving up. You wanna see what I'm about to step the fuck up. I ain't the average woman, can't get me caught up. My conscience stays elevated like the sky above. I recall I was a little more innocent, for bombs dropping saw the way the world was heading in. A downward spiral, never really building it. Like ASAP, I start my city with a single brick. Got a new fit, a fresh pair of glasses. If we gon' do it right, I gotta rock the proper kicks. So sick with it, every little bit. Nothing but the whole truth, so we know you feel it. Djembe strapped to my back any given day. Made beauty from the beats my hands played. Soon came the rhythms over which I sang. Life wouldn't be the same if I didn't create.
This is the life that chose me. I fell into it very natural. Everyone has a story. Some took the road less traveled. I've come to know I need some help, but won't succumb to my lower self. Follow your path, some won't believe on your own how alone that must have felt.
I can recall a couple of those nights. Like I've seen you guys open for the Urge at the pageant and stuff, and like you get that party rocking, and and then of course the Urge forces them to step their game up too. I mean, those guys are some of the best. But like I feel like when you set that bar that high already, like they can't come out and they got to bring the energy right out of the gate. They got to keep it up. So
what I would think as a headliner, that's what you want.
Sure.
You want to come out to a crowd that's like primed and already ready, that already has their energy level in a certain place.
Yeah.
And those, I mean, that's been crazy. Like, that's been crazy. I mean, opening for the Urge at the pageant and stuff like that. I mean, seriously, going back to when I was first getting into music, like, I didn't, that's the kind of stuff you don't think is going to happen. But then when you get the blessing and the opportunity to do that, I have to make sure that me personally, I slow myself down. I'm always like thinking about, I'm setting up and tuning and sound checking and thinking about the set and trying to make the music is just right. I've really the last couple of years tried to be more intentional about stopping and actually like looking at the crowd, looking at a full house, or if we're wherever it is, like looking at the people that are out there and actually like taking it in and saying like, I'm here, and this is cool stuff. It's not, it's not playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people. I've never gone on an international tour, but I'm still really thankful for the places that music has taken me.
Man.
And the things I've been able to do have been things that, a lot of people wish they could do and wanted to do, but didn't have the opportunity to for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So
I do it almost weekly, maybe almost daily. Like I'm like, holy shit! Like, how do I get myself into this? Like, I'm lit this crazy life I get to live. Like the people I get to hang with and the people I call friends, man. It's like it's just nuts that the company I get to keep now. That going back to the Urge, I've said it a bunch of times too. But like it blows my mind if I could somehow tell 13-year-old Shane that he's getting to hang out with Steve Ewing and
I know,
become friends with him and all this stuff. Like that would be pretty wild stuff. But he's one of the coolest and just super genuine good guy, and I've talked about him a lot on here. But like he's just one of the best, and I've been very thankful that he's gave me some of the opportunities that he's gave me. Even been on like starting this show. I think he was like episode 5 of the show. So like, kind of getting his blessing early on and like being really supportive, like meant a lot to me. So
yeah, definitely. When people are like know that they've attained a certain level, no matter what circle we're talking about, whether it's local or regional or national, whatever it is, when you're willing to use that or allow it to be used to kind of give somebody else their step up. Obviously you take a risk every time you attach your name to anything, right?
Right.
You're always taking a risk, but being willing to take that risk so somebody else can maybe get their step up or come up on their next level. That to me is what it's all about.
Yeah,
like that's what's going to keep the culture thriving and growing, keep music alive in this city and always like getting better. So the same way you're saying, which I appreciate. I don't know if it's true, but I appreciate it. About Mathias and the Pirates opening for the Urge, then they have to step their game up.
I just feel like I've seen the Urge a ton.
Yeah.
And then I can recall like those being some of the best nights, some of their best sets. So I feel like, as a whole for the evening, you guys already set a tone, and they've got to step it up,
I'll take it.
So
we'll take it for sure.
I've seen, like I said, there's not many of those since they reunited, doing those, yearly Thanksgiving shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I haven't missed hardly any of them. So like I've seen the shows a lot, and so yeah. It definitely a compliment. But
yeah, we appreciate that. that's. And I'm sure if that's true, like I said, I'm sure they appreciate it too. We got to just be fueling each other and pushing each other along, whether it's like sharing opportunities or just always bringing our A game and stepping it up. Because that's the thing, like it's not only for the fans and the people that attend the show. It's for the musicians too. You always got to be just fueling each other and sharpening each other like that.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, you guys right in studio kind of working on some new stuff, right?
Yeah. So we just played, the last show that we played was Showcase STL, which is always fun. I don't even know. It's like I'm not even sure how many consecutive years that Mathias and the Pirates have played that, but it's always fun. I love that weekend. So we just played that, and then we do have an out-of-town show coming up that I personally will not be able to travel and be a part of. But other than that, we don't have anything confirmed on the books. We have some possible shows coming up near the end of the summer and later in the fall. But our focus right now is we're working with Hands and Feet on a collaborative project. So as Mathias and the Pirates, I feel like we've always filled this kind of pocket. And I think that's what the RFT just wrote about us in the write-up for Showcase STL. How, you know, we fill the pocket of boom bap hip hop and head nodding hip hop and that kind of thing. As we're looking to grow, obviously we got to work with producers that may not necessarily be in the same vein. And so that's Hands and Feet, right? And I think it's good for him too, because he can do it all. Yeah. Right. He does the electronics. He can lay down the drum beats. He puts the guitar on top. He can do the vocals. So I think I think he's enjoying the process too of writing with and for us, and so we can kind of work together. So we were at Suburban Pro recently. We laid down a couple songs in there, so it's a slow process. I think anytime you try to collaborate, it's always going to be a little slower. But I think ultimately, like, the product is going to be better. Yeah, man. So we're working on that. No release date or anything finalized. We're just trying to, make sure it's quality and make sure it's something that kind of represents the working relationship between, a hip hop band and kind of an electronic artist. So it should be cool.
And also part of the family with Far-Fetched collective also. So Hands and Feet. So that's nice to see you guys. I think obviously it's the collective's stacked full of amazing talent. But it's just really cool to see everybody definitely, maximizing that collection, to be able to work together and stuff like that, making between the all the compilation disc and stuff. Right. I mean, like all that kind of stuff is just cool to see the crossovers and things of people working together and making cool things happen.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, man.
Kind of everything that Far-Fetched is going on. If you're not familiar with Far-Fetched, look us up.
Check out the prologues. I mean, that's a great preview of anything that's going on. But you find it all online, and a lot of great music, man, for sure.
Yeah.
You were telling me you're working on you're putting out a project just under your own name.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a while. Again, saying collaboration takes time. I started this project in 2014. It's called Freedom Sounds. And just for me, it was kind of two ideas there. Is really through Second Story Saturdays and those shows and all the vocalists and everything that I got to work with and I got to meet and become good friends with, I wanted to put together a record that kind of represented all those different vocalists that I got to work with and kind of the different sub genres, specifically within hip hop, but also some jazz artists, some soul singers. So I wanted to put together this collaborative project. So I started it early 2014, like January, February. And I did the first handful of songs I did. Hearskra-Z's on there.
Tell them what you got. 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 On alarm as we charm them snakes. Falling arms as we bomb that bass. Tell them what you got. Iron line, fire frying in my mind. Blazing lines through the sky, riding wild. We dying. Too many places to flow. Too many pieces to mow. Who in it with me? Come quickly, cause we are ready to go. Gold green, but ain't recycling-ish. Entitled to all the spoils, our reliable grip. Take hold over the throne, eliminate dissidents. If the insolent insist, they wanna start an event. Yeah. Giving birth to the wave, we giving birth to the rain. Sun got us on my back, stomp this earth and reclaim. Press the peasants cause they're scared, we gon' find out we're kings. Phoenix rising, born gods from the flame. Your majesty, tactically show rappers a travesty. Actually, wait, you've heard this before. So let's now explore new melodic terrain. Symbolic and embryonic, giving birth to the wave. Clap, 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 and got your hands clap, 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 and got your hands clap, 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 and got your hands clap, 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 got your hands clap, clap. Get your hands out. Get your hands out.
We, this people, tell them, on this wayward floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety and without crippling fear.
Tell 'em what you got. Yeah, yeah. Tell 'em what you got. Yeah, yeah. Tell 'em what you got. Yeah, yeah. Tell 'em what you got. On alarm as we charm them snakes. Falling arms as we bomb that bass. Bass, bass. What you got? Bass, yeah. Bass. Linguist you, I flip you. Vocab, ninjutsu, arm bar, twist you, pain you'll submit to. Flow stock Kimura, now you're feeling the rain. Don't trip and walk away, gravity will explain. Point a finger at another just to say we covered. Mothers, brothers, sisters, fathers, twisted in the struggle. Get the picture, hover over and quick discover that we never win it as alone, only with each other. Unify, surprise, we ain't faltering quick. Pray to change our ways, there's no altering it. Panorama, no glamour, or enamored to rip. Leaves the human mind boggle, brain scrambled and flip. Yeah, this is your brain on drugs, they brought the drugs to us. Heavy rains to the neighborhood start to rust. We use the art to bust out of the casket, holding out my hand on the torch, I have to grab it. Tell me what you got. Tell me what you got. Tell me what you got. We tell me what you got. On alarm as we charm them snakes. Falling arms as we bomb that bass. Bass, bass, bass. What you got? Bass, bass, bass. What you got? Yeah, tell them. We gon' find out we kings. Tell them.
When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible. We are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it.
Thelonious Kryptonite is on there. He's a really good vocalist. He's a really good artist who grew up in St. Louis. He's in New Orleans now. He moved to New Orleans end of 2014 and is still doing real good work there. I did a song with Scrub, and then just life, you know, everything that happened here in the St. Louis area with Mike Brown being killed, just my family life, having kids and everything, just making it take a long time. Mm-hmm. And I used to beat myself up about it and be like, you got to finish this, you got to get this project out. But I just stopped doing that, you know, just say, I'm going to work on it and I'm going to make sure it's good. And when it's done, it'll be done. And when it's ready, it'll be ready. And I'll be able to say that I'm really happy with it. I'm really proud of it. I'm really content with it. Instead of like rushing to get it out. But definitely, I mean, it taking as long as it's taking has allowed, a lot of other people to become a part of it. So Fallout from Illphonics is on it. Like I said, Scrub, Hearskra-Z, they're on it. Thelonious Kryptonite's on it. Real good rapper and singer, goes by the name Rod Wisdom. He did some stuff under like a solo name 10-ish years ago, and then I was in a band with him and everything. I actually met him through Fallout from Illphonics. He's got a couple songs on there. Singer named Alexis Coleman, she's got a couple songs on there. I've got some spoken word poets and a lot of good stuff on there. Have just a few finishing touches. There's a song Mathias and the Pirates. That's the most recent one that we finished up. And Matt Sawicki's helping me just mix it and get it all sounding good and everything. Hoping for a late August, early September release of this thing. And my brother and business partner, my best friend, Miles Delacruz, is doing all the visuals for it. He does different drawings and visual art pieces for each song that I've put out. So I've got six of these songs out right now. And I think it'll be 13 or 14 total when it's all done.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
And then so I'm guessing you on the kit, and then you got did you bring in some other players to create some of these things? Or
so I'm all the drums and percussion on it I'm doing. I do a little keys on it, a little bit of vocals. But then I've got Andrew Miramonte, he's a musician in New York right now. He does a lot of the guitar, a lot of the keys. That band director I was talking about, the assistant jazz band director, Ben Niffen, he plays bass on a bunch of the songs. David Rogers is a hidden secret in St. Louis. He plays bass occasionally with the fighting side.
Yeah.
He plays bass and guitar on a handful of songs. He helped me write a bunch of them too. That's pretty much it. It's kind of a small group of musicians. Matt McKeever plays a little sax on it.
How crazy is that to think about? Like you went from not really liking hip hop at all.
I know.
To being in a studio with your teacher that introduced you to hip hop.
Exactly. It just teaches me to and hopefully all of us to stay humble,
right.
you know, and stay open to stuff too. Like definitely have your convictions and keep your integrity. But when we're talking about art, don't cut yourself off from anything.
Yeah.
Don't cut yourself off from anything. Don't just assume, you know, just because at the time I didn't like Eminem doesn't mean I should say all hip hop sucks.
Sure.
Like that's ignorant. But you know, I mean, I work with a lot of kids now that it's the same thing. They'll write off entire decades of music. I don't like 70s music. I'm like, you're insane.
Right.
And that's, you know, maybe I should say it a little bit kinder and kind of mentor and guide the way that Ben did with me. But yeah, it's humbling more than anything.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's very cool though. I mean, I'm kind of like that too. With like, I gravitate more to artists doing certain things than necessarily a whole genre.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like, and I also feel like if whoever you do like, you know, whatever nationally or on the radio and stuff, there's probably about at least five other people here locally doing something similar that I think you'd probably like too. So
absolutely.
That's what's fun
100%.
about doing this show is like I can kind of become like that, you know, having that knowledge where I can be like, hey, well, you like that? Check this out, and like you can go see them, you know, at least once a month.
Totally
for free or $5 or whatever. You know, it's like so. I've been trying to do that and to get people to appreciate more what we have locally because we have some incredibly talented people here doing it.
Yeah,
that just aren't as recognized as your Eminems and your everything else on your radio. So,
right. And it runs the gamut too. Like no matter what style of music you're into, we really do have that going on.
Right.
And that's what's cool about any of these, like maybe not festivals, but like these weekends that we have, like, you know, what the RFT puts on with the Showcase STL. Or if you go to like Lo-Fi Cherokee when Bill Streeter does that once a year, go check that out. And that's free. You don't even pay anything.
Yeah.
And you can go in all these different businesses and see these artists like putting together a music video shot live and on the spot. I mean, you just got to put yourself out there and you can find this stuff out.
I can recall I had even it's directly for you guys too, was I had Mathias and the Pirates on one of my shows, and I mentioned, and like I had friends come up to me who aren't necessarily into hip hop, but they were like, you know, they'd come to see the other bands or whatever, you know, the rock band stuff or whatever, because I always like doing a lot of mixed genre stuff, and they're like, you know, hey, I probably wouldn't have gone to see them otherwise by themselves, but the fact that they're here and I watched it and I'm like, I really like what they're doing, and I'm like, that's exactly what it's all about. Like, open your mind to, you know, hey, here's, you know, this is something a little different out of my comfort zone, but I really dig what they're doing. And like, so I think that's the biggest thing is like getting people to just to listen, and because it's hard sometimes, you know, you're stuck in your lane. You're like, hey, I like rock music or whatever. Like, well, there's elements of this. I think there's something here you might like too. So that's what.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a little theory behind you know, all my madness and stuff when I try to put these shows together. There's a reason I think all these bands can go together and stuff and stuff. So
well, there's different ways of thinking about it too. That, you know, there's something to be said for doing a show where it's mixed genres, where you'll have a couple hip hop artists, you'll have a rock band, you'll have an indie band, you know, there's something to be said for that. There's also something to be said for when here's the legends of hip hop show. Right. Like, both are really cool and both satisfy different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the point is just like get out there and check out this local music, because it's not expensive.
Sure.
And it is frustrating when people, you know, they'll ask me, like, I want to come see you play. What's the cover? You know, and if I say, well, it's $20, like, I don't think I can afford that. I'm like, hang on. I know for a fact you just went to that Lettucey show and paid $40, right? So you can do 20. And plus you're helping all these people, you know, all these musicians that have lives and kids and families and things we're trying to do. Like, you know, so I will guilt you into it. If you tell me $20 is too much, I will guilt you. Skip Starbucks a couple times and come to the show. Yeah. It's a good show.
I work Oyster Bar, and I get it all the time. People like, you know, give me a nasty look. I tell you know, it's like I work every Wednesday with Sean Cannon, and it's an $8 cover.
That's nothing.
And they're all like, $8. Oh my god! And I'm like,
oh my gosh!
And I'm like, you know, there's like 10 guys on stage playing for 3 hours.
Seriously.
Like, you know, it's like that's less than $1 a musician, and like, yeah, so I was like,
$8,
yeah.
man.
But people just they just I get like, with your Spotify and your radio even and everything, people just expect music to be free, but yeah, I don't know why I can't get people, when people want to argue about $8, and then of course in the same sentence they'll tell me that they spent $400 on dinner or something like that down there, and it's like, I didn't ask about your dinner. Like,
right.
It was, like, you want to listen to music, it's $8, and like,
right. And yeah, it's free on Spotify,
sure,
or whatever. But man, that's what I was saying about taking it for granted earlier.
Even the way, if you're listening on the radio for free or whatever, somebody's paid for that. You got all those commercials.
Yep.
Somebody's paying for it.
Right.
So, but
you're taking it for granted. Like, there is nothing like a live show that like literally changes your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're into music at all, you have a story like that about where you went to this show and it changed you. As like cliche as that sound, where it changed you. You walked out of there and you are a different person and you'll never forget it. Yeah. I mean, when I saw Stevie Wonder live, that was it.
Yeah.
Like, true story, true rock paper podcast confession. My wife can attest to this because she was very confused. I wept like a child through half of Stevie Wonder's show.
Yeah.
And I was in the nosebleeds. I was all the way back. We had the cheapest seats. We were all the way up there. And it's just like hearing this music that has like ministered to me my whole life. And now I'm hearing this guy who's still with us, thank God, playing it live right now. Like, I left there different. I've never forgotten that. Mm-hmm. Vintage Trouble at Lou Fest in 2014 or 15.
I was there, man. That was fun.
That was the year Outkast was here.
Yeah.
And Outkast was amazing. For me personally, Vintage Trouble took it that year. Yeah. And they were right before Outkast, so everybody was leaving Vintage Trouble early to go listen to Outkast, and I still got over there for that. But Vintage Trouble, that is one of the best live shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, please go to shows.
Right.
$8 is nothing. I swear you can save $8. You can start on Monday and you can save $8 by Friday and go to that show.
And also, get there early, because I've discovered so many of my next favorite bands by just going to shows and seeing the opening groups and stuff. So that's one of my biggest things. Like, I hate when people text me like, "Hey, what time's the show start?" or what time's this band going on?
Yes.
It's like,
what time is this band going on?
And it's like, no, get there with doors open at 7, be there, and then
Yes. So I'll admit that I have lied a few times about that when people will ask me, especially like if you don't have kids, and you're asking me like, what time is your band at? Like, you're not trying to get home and relieve a babysitter, so I might not tell you the truth. What time is Pirates play? I'm like, man, I don't know. I think we're somewhere near the middle, maybe the end, when I know that our set time is 10:45. Right. I know that. I'm not going to tell you that because you need to come out and you need to hear, whoever's in front of us and whoever's after us. Like, you need to check this stuff out and support it. You don't know what you're missing. You actually don't know what you're missing.
Don't worry, I'll cut all this out so you keep your secret safe.
Let's put it out there. So don't even ask me. Don't ask me what time we're playing, because I might not tell you the truth.
Right.
Just come to the show. Come to the show, and I swear you won't be disappointed.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's get into another project you're a part of. Well, first, let's mention we got a couple of things. You can come see Andrew play drums live at the Dark Room on August 3rd, and you'll be joining the Mo E that night, which another friend of the show. I did one over there with at the Dark Room, and with Mo and Kesimu and Ben Reese. So it's fun kind of getting to talk about Dark Room and Kranzberg and everything that they're part of over there. So, but yeah, like, I don't know a ton of necessarily jazz and traditional jazz stuff, but it was kind of fun to kind of talk to those guys who are really good at it. So they're kind of learning from some of the best. So
the masters of the scene for sure. So I went to Webster, and that's my degree is in jazz drums, right? Funny how like that's very little of what I play anymore. Most of the guys I went to college with and that I was playing jazz with have moved on to New York and LA, and two of my best friends and favorite musicians, Pete Ayers and Andrew Miramonte, are in New York now. Playing a lot of non-jazz though, guys. They left for that scene and everything to a certain extent, but it's kind of similar to the scene here. There's a lot of good stuff going on, but you know, you're going to be in competition for trying to get your band out there and get your project heard and to get gigs and everything. So I'm really happy to be playing with Mo and kind of get back to it. I've been a fan of his for a long time, and the Darkroom's amazing because you can go out and you can hear live music, I think, every day for free. Like there's no cover. That's like, where else is that happening? Where you can hear incredible music for free at a pretty cool venue too.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, you got to get there early if you want to sit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool spot. So yeah, I played with him just a few weeks ago, with him and Snoopy on bass, and Brady Lewis was playing trumpet, and it just kind of put that together on the fly. And we did one little rehearsal in here, and it was just a lot of fun.
Nice.
It was a very, very sweaty night. He worked as hard. So he even told me when he booked me for this next one, he's like, we'll be playing with a singer, so I won't work you as hard. So Chrissy Rennick's going to be singing, and Mo on keys and Snoopy on bass again. So it'll be a good show.
Yeah, man. Very cool. And then August 10th is our 8th Freedom Arts Expo.
Yeah.
And so let's get into this project. This is... I don't know a lot about this, so that's why I thought it'd be cool to get to know and learn from you firsthand about all this stuff. So
cool.
Tell me more about Freedom Arts Expo and everything you're part of with this.
Yeah, so Freedom Arts and Education Center is a nonprofit organization that I co-founded officially in 2012. And so coming out of a lot of the same relationships in the same time that I was out meeting a lot of new musicians and getting into some new projects and everything. So actually with Thelonious Kryptonite was one of our co-founders. And I actually remember being at the show with him at a Second Story Saturday show that Jonesy was putting on. And I told him, this was late 2010, I told him this, or 2011. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about starting an arts organization, you know, trying to make sure the arts are reaching kids where the arts aren't available. And so this was also, you know, the economy was not in a good spot. Arts programs were getting cut everywhere. Like I actually lost a lot of students that I had. I lost some jobs that I had because the arts were getting cut. Really from 2008, really through like 2011 and 12. And the first place it was going to get cut were in schools where budgets were already tight. Because you know, school budgets they're heavily influenced and almost sometimes based on property value in the zip codes around it, right? So as property values are low, budgets are low. So if they got to cut things, the first thing they're going to cut is going to be the arts.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that, you know, especially seeing, you know, yeah, it's affecting my pockets too, but also seeing how there's not opportunities available for these kids that were available to me.
Sure.
Right, especially by high school, you know, I
wouldn't be here today if it weren't for those art programs.
Exactly. Yeah, and I especially when I really started getting into music in high school, I was at school early to practice and I stayed late to practice. So it also gave me just like a safe place to be when I could have been doing dumb stuff. I wasn't doing that. I was at school early and staying late to practice the drums. And so especially in neighborhoods that lack resources due to systemic injustice, I saw this as not only an easy way for me to help out and do something about some of those injustices, but something extremely necessary. We cut the arts first, but that's ridiculous because what's the point of anything if you don't have the vibrancy and the connectivity and the joy that the arts bring to everyone? When you cut those things first, you're saying that those things don't matter. You're saying joy doesn't matter. You're saying vibrancy doesn't matter. Connectivity and unity don't matter when you cut those things. So I remember sitting in the back of Llewellyn's in the Central West End and telling Thelonious Kryptonite, Corey Williams, telling him, hey, I'm thinking about starting this arts organization. You know, I want to give kids an opportunity to play the drums and explore music and dance and visual art. And what do you think? And he turned to me, he goes, we don't need that. I was like, okay, thanks for killing my dream. Really appreciate it. And that's what I thought in my head. But he quickly followed up with, he goes, man, I know a lot of kids that can rap, but they can't read.
Yeah.
And really, the very next sentence always stuck with me. He said, if we're going to do this, we got to help them with their schoolwork. You know, we got to help them with reading and math if we're going to do the arts too. And so it's like, oh, so you're in? You said we're doing this? He's like, yeah. And along with him and Miles, I already mentioned, and my wife Beth and a few other people, we started Freedom Arts officially in 2012. So we just, knowing absolutely nothing at all about how to run a business, anything about the way nonprofits worked, like nothing at all. Like we knew the arts. We had visual artists, musicians, rappers, poets, and dancers on our early team, and still do. Like we knew the art forms, we knew how to teach them. That's it. We knew nothing else. So with the help of the volunteer lawyers and accountants for the arts, the VLAA, helping us get set up and get official and teaching us some stuff. So shout out to them. If you're trying to start an arts organization, look up the VLAA. We got it going. So we put together a little catalog. You know, we got our website through GoDaddy and a little catalog of different arts workshops and classes we could do, from bucket drumming and poetry writing and different dance classes and drawing classes and things like that. We just threw it out there on the internet and waited to see what would come back. And so pretty quickly stuff started coming back, because on our end of it, we're thinking the arts are missing from a lot of communities and from a lot of education. We need to fill that. On the other end, there are people thinking that too, people that did have funding. And so we got contracted really quick by St. Louis County Libraries, by some other organizations, to bring our arts workshops to their kids. So it took off real quick. I mean, I was writing checks to teaching artists and paying them for coming and teaching within months of us getting started. So we did a couple fundraisers. We got our 501c3 about a year later, making us a full nonprofit organization, and we're still doing it.
Yeah, man.
And so one of the first kind of community outreach events that we did in 2012 was the Freedom Arts Expo, which is really like a block party meets art fair. And we've done it every year, no matter where we've been headquartered and where we've moved around, we've done it every year. So yeah, this year it's going to be on August 10th. It's going to be at Trojan Park, which is on the west side. It's on Skinker, just a little bit south of Page. And it's a cool park. It's got like splash pads and grills. We'll be grilling, partnering with a lot of other organizations. We'll have DJs. Our youth artists will be performing. Our drumline will perform. School supply giveaway. So if you got kids that need school supplies, you can bring them out. If you have school supplies to donate, bring those over. Just get everybody ready for starting school the next week. So it's just a good time. It's a block party. It's an art fair, and yeah, it's a good time. So it's August 10th at Trojan Park.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
That's very cool too. I've been, trying, as I've kind of getting myself a little more established and having some of the resources I've been given, I've been trying to do more and giving back. And last year I put together our first benefit show. We did a Toys for Tots fundraiser, and I invited a bunch of my friends and just said, hey, look, it's all for charity. Let's have some fun and raise a bunch of money and toys. And we did really well for our first year at it. And, I gave it a shot. And it was also like Thanksgiving weekend. So that might have hurt the draw a little bit. But, it was, as the things grow, we're hoping to do it again this year. And I don't know that it's going to be, it might be Toys for Tots again. I don't know. But the whole idea is to keep supporting the neighborhood and giving back to other charities too. So so hopefully, but we're going to try to keep this thing going and make a run at it. But I want to give back to the community too. And like I said, do something for my neighborhood, right? Do for the greater good and stuff, for the kids and for give everybody opportunities when. So
like you were saying, talking to 13-year-old Shane, saying you'd be hanging out with the Urge and everything. I mean, we can't go back in time and talk to our 13-year-old self, but we can talk to 13-year-olds that exist right now, and make sure that they have the resources that they need to do what they want to do. Like, just like my mom was bringing me stacks of CDs, and I had great music programs in my school. You had people helping you out get started too. So that's, we got to realize that, and realize that, it's not the same everywhere. Even here in St. Louis being, they say we're like a big, small city in a way. Things really differ from zip code to zip code. And I mean, as I got older and started, playing shows and going to people's houses for rehearsals and just, kind of getting out of the West County bubble that I grew up in a lot of ways. And I started meeting other people and seeing like, well, that's not right. I had drumline and jazz band and concert band, and I could go to school early and stay after school. My teachers were there. I had the same band teachers for 4 years through high school. Why isn't it this way at this school? Why isn't it that way at that school? We have to do something about that. And I think especially artists, being as creative as we are, like what is it that artists do? We make stuff, right? We take what's available to us and we make things. I mean, however you got your podcast started, whatever gear you had, you wanted to do it. So you made it happen with what you had.
Yeah.
Some people have even less than that. So how can we take what we have and make sure that there's equity everywhere that we go, and there's resources and opportunities available for all the kids and all their families and in every zip code that we're at, right? Because that's what's really going to fix things.
Right.
That's really going to solve a lot of the issues that we want to ignore, or we want to, throw a hashtag on and just turn away from. It takes investment of resources. And so any artists who are listening, you make stuff, you can make a positive difference with whatever resources you have too. So yeah, whether it's a fundraiser for Toys for Tots or it's coming to the Freedom Arts Expo, whatever it is, we can make things better here.
Yeah, man. Well, you can find everything and get involved at FAECSTL.org.
That's it.
Again, that's Freedom Arts Expo. What's the C?
Well, FAEC is the Freedom Arts Education Center.
Education Center.
Yeah,
sorry.
STL.org. That's all right.
But so then the parties, Expo.
If you type in Freedom Arts, we'll pop up at this point. So,
right. Sorry about
search
that.
engine optimization. That's all right.
When did you decide that you needed to spray paint the van and get the custom paint job there?
It is. I mean, it's just marketing.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it looks great. It definitely catches the eye.
I know. Yeah, and it's funny. I go back and forth about it because that's the Freedom Arts owns that van. I don't have my own personal vehicle. That's the work.
Yeah.
The work van, right? And so it's one thing when I'm driving it and I'm picking up kids after school, and then we go to the after school program and everything. It's a little bit different when I roll up to the gig, at 10 o'clock, at the ready room or whatever, and I pull up and I unload the van. There's days where I'm like, I feel like an idiot in this van right now. But most of the time I'm like, but that's okay. Like, it really does. It's marketing. It's advertising. And so whenever, I forget when we got in, that's our first design, our first paint job. And actually, again, David Rogers, occasional bass player in the fighting side, actually helped us spray paint that van. So that was me and him and Miles. We did that. Now the kids are older, they don't like it anymore. It's a little too flashy for them. They also want to roll a little bit, under the radar. So yeah, probably new paint job coming soon for the van. The funny thing, well, it's not funny getting tickets, but when I do get tickets and it says color, it's always funny to see what the cop comes up with. I've gotten multi, I've gotten it left blank. One cop wrote a question mark.
Oops.
Yes, when they have to write the color of the vehicle. So,
all right.
So anyway, the van. Yeah, you can't miss it. You cannot miss it.
Yep. Again, check out FAECSTL.org today and get involved. Come out to the party on August 10th and have a good time with us.
Yeah.
We do. I often put your pictures up and for when I do these, and see if anybody has any fan questions for you. And there was one in particular you said you really wanted to address, and this is another friend of the show. We actually, I don't think Bob made it on the show, but we did the one with Kingdom Brothers, which he's a part of.
Yeah.
But Bob writes in, how does Andrew get such a big sound with so few drums? And he thinks that this would help benefit some other drummers. So
yeah.
Do you have a particular secret to some of your playing? But
I wouldn't say a secret necessarily, but so Bob, for those of you who don't know, Bob Walter, he plays bass for Kingdom Brothers. He's also a very, very good audio engineer. So he had a company for a little bit that I worked for. I did some audio engineer work for him when he was first getting the company going. I mean, he's a bunch of the mics that are in this room he's given me or sold me for cheap. And so honestly, with Bob asking that question, I thought it was interesting, him being an audio engineer, because I would say that's a huge part of it. You have to have an audio engineer that knows what they're doing. So having played, I don't know, thousands of shows in my life, we are at the mercy of the audio engineers. And they're at the mercy of, a lot of time, the production company or the venue. If the venue or the production company, doesn't want to invest the money in good equipment and, more importantly, a good engineer to operate the equipment, nothing's really going to sound good.
Right.
At all. And that kills the vibe on stage. When you can't hear yourself, when nothing sounds good, the vibe on stage is awful. And most performers have a hard time squashing that vibe and still putting their best foot forward, so the crowd's getting a good vibe. So, pro tip for musicians, whether you've been doing this a lot or you've only been doing this a little, when you get to the venue, first of all, get to the venue for sound check. Get to the venue for sound check. Even if you're late, get to the venue for sound check. Don't roll up 5 minutes before show starts. If you have an instrument, if you're a vocalist, maybe you can get away with that. If you have an instrument, you got to get there for sound check. And when you go in, introduce yourself to the audio engineer. Go to the audio engineer. They are also a person.
All right.
Shake his or her hand. Get their name. Introduce yourself like you're on a team for that night. For that night, you're working together. You're coworkers. Mm-hmm. So go in, meet the audio engineer. If you have specific needs, tell them what they are. 90% of the time, they will do everything to accommodate your needs. With Mathias and the Pirates, I always play on in-ears, like in-ear monitors, so I don't use a stage monitor or like a wedge or a floor monitor. I use in-ear monitors. If I tell them that ahead of time, they'll accommodate it. If it's 5 minutes before our set time, they don't want to know it then. Like, they want to know it earlier in the night. And most of them appreciate it because it keeps the stage volume down too. If you tell them what your setup is, if you have an unusual setup, or even if it's not unusual, just let them know. If there's no like rider that you have to send it ahead of time, if it's just like show up for sound check and tell them, then make sure you tell them all that stuff. And so I've also had to put aside some of my preferences with miking and everything, because I do a little audio work myself, and I have my opinions and preferences for how to mic drums, but other audio engineers, they have their ways of doing it, and they know their equipment and they know their venue, so I got to just trust them and they know what they're doing. I remember there's this one engineer at 2720 when it was still operating. I never liked where he put the mic on my snare drum. I felt like he always put it really, really far away, and so I would move it. And then he would come up and move it back and just kind of look at me and be like, listen, just trust me. I'd be like, all right, good enough. I'll trust you. Because Bob taught me almost everything I know about audio. So anyway, that's a long part of the first question. Audio engineer makes all the difference, so be kind to them.
Right.
Treat them like people. But then other than that, it's tuning and technique. So making sure my drums are always... I check them before every show. You see guitar players, bass players, horn players, they tune before every show. How many times you seen a drummer just throw up their gear and just start playing and that's it? They don't touch them. Drums are instruments too, so you got to tune them. And especially in, Midwest weather with extreme heat and extreme cold, humidity and everything, they're going to warp and they're going to change. So just check them, make sure they're in tune. And then the same thing is technique. Every instrument has a technique, and that includes drums and every percussion instrument for that matter. So make sure you're hitting it right, that you're getting, the best sound, you're hitting it in the right spot. You can hit one drum, you can get 100 different sounds out of based on where you hit it. So that's it. That's the three parts of the answer is your audio engineer makes all the difference, and then make sure your stuff is in tuned and sounding good and clean and in good shape. And then your technique, just make sure you're hitting it right.
Yeah, man.
Long answer, but an important question. So thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Yeah, man.
We will not be answering Shelby Carter's questions. They're trash questions, Shelby.
Yeah, that guy's he's become a really good friend, man. We between seeing him at some pirate shows or Boomtown shows, or just I ran into him one night just hanging out in the Grove randomly, just in passing, and got to talking and stuff, and so he's become a great friend, and it's but yeah, definitely made me laugh with some of his stuff and throwing them in there. But
we got to dog each other. But I love Shelby. He's an awesome trumpet player for Mathias and the Pirates and Boomtown United. And he's done some other shows with me. I've organized some just kind of collective shows. I did a show the last 2 years called Songs of the Civil Rights Movement. We did it at the Missouri History Museum, where we take just music from the ongoing civil rights movement and perform them and give them a little historical context. And Shelby plays trumpet at those. Good dude. And I remember I asked, he knows a lot about food. Like, he's a really good cook. I remember asking one time, who's got the best burgers in St. Louis? Like, if I want the best burger, where do I go? And he gave me his home address. So I still, it wasn't the answer I was looking for, but that's Shelby. So he gave me his home address. He's like, go up, second floor, knock on the door. I'm going to let you in. I'm going to make you a burger.
There it is.
So Shelby, you haven't made true on that promise yet. So,
all right.
So maybe next show, maybe I get a burger. I don't know.
I got to find out too, man. That's I could definitely go for a burger right about now.
Yep.
Well, man, this has been incredible. It's, like I said, it's been a lot of fun getting to hang with you, getting to share some of these stories and stuff, man. And I definitely want to do this again sometime soon. I think we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, let's schedule a part two.
Yeah, man.
Maybe get some other folks in here.
Yeah, well, and
it's a good show.
Sound like we'll have a new record to share shortly. So we'll keep an eye out for that
for sure.
But yeah, man, this has been great. I appreciate you taking some time to hang and share all this with me and everybody listening. So you're gonna get involved and check out Andrew and all these projects and where he's coming to a town near you, hopefully, playing some drums. And yeah, man, I will see you soon, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Well, yeah, that was it.